Hey guys, Grifton here, and today we're going to be talking about what changes the Faerie Fire changes have caused. Because the change that they made, the hotfix that makes the 100% proc chance, is a small change, but it has ramifications across our whole class. And I'm going to be going over those today so that you at least have a basic understanding of what's going on here. So if you don't know, essentially Faerie Fire now has a 100% proc chance, and Gift of the Wild no longer procs Omen of Clarity. So you're no longer going to be able to gift weave. This is going to change a lot. That's what I'm going into. And the first question I get is, what kind of talent changes are there? Well, if you're doing Monocat, it's essentially that spec. If you're doing bear weaving, you're going to go back and drop Protector of the Pack, which boosts your bear damage, and you're going to move that into Feral Aggression. You can also take 2 points away from Furor and move those into Feral Aggression 2, giving you 5/5 Feral Aggression. Now, when it comes to improved leader of the pack, you can take a point out and put it into survival instincts if you want for some survivability. It doesn't really matter. It's not going to be a big gain either way. Survival instincts is going to help you survive and possibly tank in an emergency. Improved leader of the pack is going to give you slightly more healing and mana that you don't need. That's kind of my biased opinion. I really like survival instincts. But yeah, so that is your spec 5516. Pretty straightforward. Next question I get is your rotation. Will your rotation change? Yes, it will, especially the opener. But I kind of have to explain rotation really quick. Ferals do not have a rotation in the sense that they have like 1, 2, 3. They have a priority list, and the priority list has changed. Essentially, Faerie Fire is now #1 priority. When it's up, you should be using it to allow you to do more shreds and other things like that. Also, you are going to see Ferocious Bite in the mix. If you are doing this new like rotation with Faerie Fire and you're not doing Ferocious Bite, you're probably losing out on a bit of DPS. So make sure that that is bound and you're going to start using it. I was using it about 2 per minute on average. I was definitely getting them in Berserks. If you are going to use the Faerie Fire during Berserk, I recommend once you get 5 combo points and you're comfortable and you're going to do a Ferocious Bite, to use the Faerie Fire right after a Ferocious Bite to continue to keep pumping. If you use Ferocious Bite outside of a Omen of Clarity, or without Omen of Clarity ready to go, like Faerie Fire procced up, you're going to find yourself sitting still waiting for energy during Berserk, which you don't want to do. So just keep that in mind. That is a big game changer. Just make sure you're using Ferocious Bite, but also that you've got it planned for that, especially during Berserk. That is going to be there's going to be the big changes there. Hopefully I'll be able to build out a whole, like, this is what I did. I've been doing practices all through the night, and I'm completely exhausted, which is why I'm stuttering here. The next thing is damage as well, is going to be the AoE. Is AoE going to be better? Yes, sort of. So if you were doing AoE swiping with mixing and gift weaving, then this is probably going to possibly be a DPS loss for you, because that was just super powerful. However, because you were gift weaving, you're actually dropping 5% crit on your melee, assuming you don't have a Fury. So putting that back there, this could be an overall raid gain. So that is a huge plus. So definitely it's easier. It's a kind of a weirder, more complicated swipe in my opinion, because before you were doing maybe like a Rake, Savage Roar, swipe. Now you're doing a Rake, Savage Roar, Faerie Fire, swipe, Faerie Fire. Like it's just got a little bit more nuance to it, which is kind of nice. If you're doing the gift weaving, obviously that's just going to replace with Faerie Fire. But yeah, it's going to feel really good in my opinion, especially if you weren't doing gift weaving. Now let's talk about the pre-pull. Now before, in the pre-pull, we would do a Gift of the Wild on everybody to guarantee we had an Omen of Clarity going into a boss pull. Now we can't do that anymore because that has been eliminated, but other things do proc gift. So for instance, you could bring up an unconscious Diggerat. If you don't know what those are, you can farm them. They're kind of a pain to farm, but you can take those and then drop it and then hit it with Faerie Fire before the pull, so that you already have a Faerie Fire proc ready to go. An alternative would be Tranquility. Tranquility is on an 8-minute cooldown, but you could use it on before the pull to make sure you've got Omen of Clarity up. And then once you hit your Mangle, you could then hit another Faerie Fire, extending your Berserk time even further down the list. So those are just a couple of changes, but it's definitely pre-procking is still going to be a thing. We're just going to figure out a consistent way to do it. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is weak auras. So I personally have a weak aura. I think it's called Grifton's Feral Tracker. I use it personally, and it's changed because Feral Faerie Fire changed. If you're using a weak aura, make sure that the weak aura has been updated, or that you're aware that the rotation may be wrong. There's an add-on called Feral that tells you which button to press, but you can modify the priority list, and you'll need to modify it to move Feral Faerie Fire up to higher on the list so that you'll do it more frequently. So yeah, definitely look into that. The next thing I'm going to talk about are threat issues. I kind of touched on this a little bit with your rotation opener, but let's go deep into this. So threat issues are supposed to be solved by this because we aren't going into bear anymore. The reality is this may actually cause some early threat problems because you are now getting a huge opener with essentially 2 Omen of Clarity procs guaranteed right on the snap, pushing Berserk back, meaning that you can extend your damage even longer in the first 15 to 20 seconds. This might be an issue. Salve may be good. The problem is you really don't want to use Salve early because it's percentage based, and the earlier you do it, the less value it has, but it might be the safe play here because cats, especially once they get this rotation down, are going to absolutely pop off on openers. They're going to pull off a lot of things. So just be warned. It is very Starfire-like with AoE. So yeah, there are going to be threat issues. And no, they didn't fix Cower, in case you're going to ask. It is still a flat rate. The next question I got is bear weaving dead? No. So you can still bear weave, but a lot of people say it's dead because this is better. It's not concretely proven yet. There's still going to be time where it might be possible to out DPS a regular mono cat with bear weaving because you can still do the rotation. However, it's likely going to change because you'll still want to be doing Feral Faerie Fire even while in bear form, which it does proc on. So it's going to change your bear weaving rotation if you continue to bear weave. Now, some people will still be applying Mangle Refresh in bear form. In case you guys don't know, it saves you from spending energy, so you'll shift into bear, use Mangle, and just go back. This was actually the original concept for bear weaving, and it may still be the thing because it's still the more efficient way to apply Mangle. Though with the crit we have and the Omen of Clarity proc frequency, it might not even be necessary because we are just absolutely just constantly popping Omen of Clarity. But yes, bear weaving is still alive and well. Okay, some people asked about the Edgy versus Strength versus Armor Pen. Because of this change, if you're going mono cat, Edgy and Strength are essentially equal at this point. It's not going to change anything. It is going to boost your Armor Pen because you're going to be in cat form and you're not going to be relying as much on things like Lacerate. So Armor Pen is actually slightly stronger, and your haste will go down. So if you're looking at a Comet's Trail versus I'm blanking, oh my god, Dark Matter, sorry, Comet's Trail versus Dark Matter, you'll definitely have a closer comparison. Comet's Trail was slightly ahead, and now Dark Matter has caught up. That's because Comet's Trail relies on haste, which is no longer as good for you, though it is still very good for you, but it's low prio for sure. And then the last question people asked was the Balanced Faerie Fire versus the Feral Faerie Fire. Will there be a problem of conflict? No. The way it's supposed to work is if you are a Feral and you apply Feral Faerie Fire, it should actually apply the balanced version of it. Regardless of whether it does that or not, it doesn't affect this. You can apply Feral Faerie Fire on a target that has Balanced Faerie Fire and nothing will happen. It will still work. Even if it didn't work, even if you miss with Feral Faerie Fire, it will still proc the Omen of Clarity, which, let's be honest, it's all you really care about. You don't really care about whether or not a target has that debuff or not. But those are the big questions I've been asked. Hopefully this clears up all the questions you had. If I missed something or if I'm completely wrong, please forgive me. I'm very tired. Let me know in the comments below, though, so that I can make an updated version of this video. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for everyone who helped to support this change. And as always, guys, take care.